A trailer for Shadow of the Erdtree can drop literally any day now. Armored Core 6 is now out of the way and there's no longer a conflict of interest for From Software fans. The hype train is soon to start rolling, but before it does, let's speculate on our next dose of pain and suffering. So, we already know the DLC is going to have more drip, more anime moves, and at least one boss that makes you question every decision you've ever made in your life up until the moment you decided to buy the DLC. We know this because From Software DLC bosses are notorious for being way more difficult than any of the base game MFs. Just look at Slave Knight Gale or Sister Fried from Dark Souls 3 DLCs. But what else does the DLC need? The first feature the DLC needs to have, other than another strapping animal man running around howling and barking, is more insanely unique area designs, like the Eternal Cities. The first time I descended that long elevator and saw the reveal of Nokron is probably one of the most memorable moments in the entire game, and I've never seen or heard of another area like this in any other game besides maybe Blackreach from Skyrim. I mean, Elden Ring has plenty of other cool areas as well. It even has a cum zone. But the Eternal Cities are just way too cool to not have more of in the DLC. So I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye out for more areas like that. The next feature on the list is another super massive legacy dungeon. If we assume the DLC will follow the same format of the base game, then we know there will be legacy dungeons. There's likely to be catacombs, caves, and large dungeons which represent an entire zone, like the Academy, for example. But if we look at all the main dungeons in the game, the ones that really stand out as these massive areas to tackle are definitely Lindell and Stormvale. I mean, just think about how much there is to explore above and below Lindell, with all the sewers and stuff like that going down, and you could even kill Moog down there where it's Mogan time. And then also think about Stormvale, just all like the parkour sections and stuff like that. Like, they're just way bigger than any of the other areas, like, for sure. So I'm definitely looking for some more of that in the DLC. Now, honestly, it's hard to speculate on what type of dungeons these will be. I mean, we barely know anything about the DLC, but it's probably safe to say there's going to be more castle-like structures. I mean, that's a lot of what we got in the base game already. If the DLC takes place in the past, we could be seeing some of the same structures, but in a different state. The same thing goes if it's in the future. I mean, I honestly don't know. That's a possibility, but I definitely feel like I'd be more interested in an entirely different area that's new to explore. The next thing that I would hope to see is something that keeps the progression alive. I mean, right now you have churches, which give you tears. You have baby Erdtrees, which give you their seed. And you have mining tunnels, which give you smithing stones. Aside from leveling, these are the three things that keep the progression going. But if we know anything about From Software expansions, they're usually scaled for the endgame. But by then, we're already all full of seed and maxed out our tiers. The most realistic option for keeping the character progression alive is finding some random new weapon that we decide that we like more and using all of our stones on it to level it up. But even then, you could just do that in one instant by buying all of the stones right away from the round table. This is one of the reasons why I feel like New Game Plus kind of struggles, because you can keep leveling up your character, but it's very slow and doesn't really make much of a difference. And I guess if you want to use a new weapon or switch up your build, that could keep things going, but most of us really know how we want to play, and that kind of stops all at the end game. So the DLC is basically just going to be finding new areas and stuff, but I mean, not to say that that's not going to be fun, but I just feel like that feeling of getting a stronger character throughout the game is something that's going to be missed. It's highly unlikely, but maybe some new type of mechanic will be added in the DLC, that maybe it's some type of mobility item or something that keeps it so that you can only reach certain areas. I don't know. Now, the next thing that I really hope we get is some type of roguelike feature. Now, before you start crying, pooing, peeing, shitting, bleeding, and coming, just keep in mind that Sekiro had boss gauntlets, and Bloodborne had chalice dungeons. Now, neither of these were completely roguelike, but the point is that they were quick and repeatable ways to engage with the game that added a lot of replayability. Elden Ring currently doesn't have any way to quickly fight bosses other than continuously beating the entire game and going into the next New Game Plus cycle. Imagine they add Chalice Dungeons 2.0, where there's random rooms leading up to a random boss, with maybe even ways to regain health and FP flasks along the way. I could easily see myself running through that over and over, not knowing if the next boss will be Melania or fucking Soldier of Godric. I know randomizer mods exist, but modding is really only for PC, so we need those console boys to have a little something. We do know that Elden Ring almost already added some type of boss gauntlet, so I think something like this is going to happen, but this Chalice Dungeon idea that I'm presenting here is just really just like a dream, a hope, because that would be something that would bring a lot of replayability to the game, because as I was saying before, with the New Game Plus stuff, the DLC, even if it's huge, like, that's going to be a lot more time in the game, but at some point we're still going to get to that same point where we're just redoing the bosses and there's no like progression or anything like that. And the last thing that I want is, of course, thick and deep lore. Deep lore. I want Vati to make a 45-minute video, the Giga Chad of lore videos, explaining every single minute detail, because my monkey brain is not advanced enough to comprehend what the fuck is going on. Now, I think it's safe to assume that we're going to be getting plenty of lore centered around Miquella. That's just by going off the DLC image, which was shown at least like 4 years ago at this point. I don't know about you guys, but I'm definitely hoping Miquella ends up not being a boss. Or if he does end up being a boss, let it be after learning a ton about him. I'm also interested in the part where he's sitting on Torrent. Just going off the way Miquella sits on Torrent, I kind of think the two just met. Like, he's sitting with both of his legs off to one side, and also he's wearing basically just a tissue. It makes him look like he's not really a confident rider. There's also the part where Torrent isn't saddled up. I'm guessing Miquella somehow meets Torrent and the two form a bond. I don't know, this is just all speculation. This is why we need the DLC. We need answers. Please. So yeah, these are the things I'm hoping for in Elden Ring's DLC. Some are realistic, some of them are kind of crazy, to be honest. But anyways, let me know what you guys are hoping for. Do you want some of the same things as me? Do you want other things? Do you simply just want more Elden Ring? Alright, if you liked what you heard in this video, please go ahead and share it with your mom, and then let me know what she thinks of it. And as always, thanks for watching, and have a good one.